What I'm trying to say is there's a hell of a lot to do and all time. So less talk and more cars. Alright, no mucking about. The last time we left it with the filler applied and we were waiting for it to go off. And as I explained, high spots are okay because they're easily sanded back. It's low spots you need to look out for. So with the filler cured, and let's remember, Si applied this filler to show me how it was done. So this is a nice neat job. The first thing Si said to do was just roughly sand back the high spots, which is all that's just happened here. Now these are the various sanding blocks and sanding grades that I was given. The paper grades are 80, 180, 320 and 500. 80 being coarse, 500 being fine. Then there are some soft back 320 and 500 grades. These are sandpaper just the same as the rest. It's just they've got this soft foam back in them, so it's very difficult for you to do any damage with them. But what we're most interested in here are the sanding blocks. And I thought I was going to be told that specific ones had to be used in specific places, but as I found out through the process, it's really whatever one works best for you. Or probably best to say, it's really whichever one is the best compromise between your comfort and what will work on the panel. And I found myself using this kind of red taco shaped one the most. Now later on we'll use the air powered sander. You see here in this instance there's a foam pad on it, but I'll talk to you about that again. So initially Si picked up this quite hard block. It's got a curved section to it and it's quite long. And I was surprised at how hard he started sanding. But the main thing to take on board here is he's working from the good paint, from the good part of the panel inwards. So he's starting at the outside of the filler and working inwards. And he's coming across the panel in a diagonal motion. And the reason why he's using that specific motion in this specific area is because the panel is both curving left to right across the picture, but also bottom to top. So he's running left to right, but also up and down. And all the while, he's stopping periodically to check what he's done, to check how the filler is shaping underneath the sanding block. And very quickly, he's unearthed a high spot here. If you see the metal coming through like this, it's a high spot in the metal. And you know, this is where I ordinarily would have started to think, oh, here's the black magic at play. How are we supposed to know what he's doing here? But he really is just feeling that high spot and tapping it down with a hammer. There's nothing more to it than that. It's just experience and trial and error, working something patiently and slowly until you get it right. The only thing you can really do wrong here is overdo it. So long as you're feeling what's going on regularly, you should be fine. Again, I was really surprised at how quite deliberate Si was with these pads, but as he explained to me, it's just so long as you do use a pad, you should be okay, because the pad will ensure that you'll never really go too hard on one piece unless you really go for it. If you're constantly feeling what's going on, you shouldn't have any problems. The pad will disperse the load of your hand across the panel or the area of the panel that you're working. So you should be able to sand your repair progressively and evenly across its whole surface. And as Si went and exposed more and more of this high spot, he just kept on working it so that he could blend it in with the filler. Now a second one arose up near the far side of the repair, and it was just the same deal again. He just worked it with the hammer and kept sanding until it wasn't a high spot anymore. Now if we look closely, you can see this is the 80 grit paper, by the way. You start off with that. It's fine for now because we are going to fill again, but we're also going to sand with the various grades in the end too. It looks quite coarse at the moment, but this is only the start of the job. So moving over to the center of the scuttle, this is me. And you use your common sense. The little area around the mounting point for the wiper, well, even though there's filler around this now, I know there's no damage here, so this filler all pretty much has to come out. And if it looks like I've taken quite a bit away, the guys assured me that I should just keep sanding until it felt smooth, because we would definitely be putting more filler into this. But the main thing is the starting from the outside of the repair and working inwards. And you can see the direction I've been working in with the sandpaper and the block by the marks in the filler and the panel. And I was stopping to feel the progress probably far more often than Si would, but I'd already made 3 attempts at this, so this was the time to get it right. And over to the A-pillar on the near side. And remember, we just about got the filler on as it was going off up the A-pillar. So I started up there and brought it back down, because if there was going to be a bad spot on this, it would have been on that section of A-pillar. But we more or less got away with it. Now you can see here, there's a few high spots and I've taken quite a lot of the filler away, but that's really what you want to do. So continuing on, I went up to the top of the windscreen on the near side. This isn't actually a repair, there was just some rust starting up there, so I pulled the paint back just the same as everywhere else. And over to the top of the screen on the offside, again, just starting from the outside and working inwards. Now with the initial sanding done and the car cleaned up a bit, it was time for the second skim of filler. Remember I said about leaving the applicator in whatever filler you've got left? Well, here you go. You see once the filler has gone off how easily it releases off the applicator and you don't have to do any cleaning. Well, certainly not on one side anyway. And you know, when I watched this footage back, I actually wasn't sure if it was me or Si, because this hand coming in applying the filler seems very confident, but very soon I realised, okay, whoever this is, they're not dragging the filler far enough down into the panel, into the repair. So it's got to be me. And yeah, as it went on and it got messier and messier, there's no question this is me. But you can see I'm a hell of a lot smoother and more consistent than I was before. This application of filler, okay, it's not the cleanest, but there doesn't seem, from where I'm sitting, to be any low spots. High spots, yes, but low spots, we're okay so far, I think. So I'm deliberately laying this filler on thickly, because I'd rather have this on thick and have to sand back more than not have enough and have to apply again. Okay, over to the near side. And I'll speed this up a bit because you don't need to see the messy job too closely on this side. And up and over to the top of the screen, and you know, it's not terrible, I am getting better. So back to the off side of the screen at the bottom, and it was time to start sanding again. Again, I just knocked off the high points first and then started working in from the outside of the repair. I've sped this up, but you can see constantly as I go, my handprints going through the dust, feeling what's going on. And this really started to feel so much better. And you can see the high spots are largely gone. What's left here is not a problem. These are very smooth. The piece across the middle of the scuttle was really tricky because it's a very narrow section and it would have been very easy to go too hard or put too much pressure on one area. But using that curved edge again with the same motion moving along and up and down across the panel, I was able to do it. Now, remember the white car that had come through? It needed panel repair both sides and front and back. Well, in the time it's taken me to prepare, lay down 2 skims of filler and not even sand both of them back fully, the white car's in paint and only Si was working on it. So you see just how quickly the professionals can do it by comparison. Now have a look at this section on the near side of the bottom of the windscreen. When I get to this point, I'm still feeling what's going on, and you can see I'm working from the bottom, so the bottom of the repair is getting nice and smooth, while further up you can see it's still quite rough and unsanded. But you just keep working into the repair, and that's what keeps everything uniform and allows you to blend the curve across the panel. And if we look closely at this, very difficult shot to get. This is not perfect, but it is not bad at all. Now, as I finished that bit of sanding, the white car emerged, having been sprayed and baked. And funnily enough, so this is a Lexus CT200, I believe. Look at the line coming across the shoulder of the door and how it meets the rear quarter panel of the car. The quarter panel has a line in it too, a swage line. But they don't meet up, they kind of, one goes down, the other one goes up, and if you take the car apart visually like this, it doesn't seem right. So this is dolphin glaze, and it is a filler just the same, it's just far finer than what we've been using so far. And the idea with this stuff is it fills any tiny pinholes, any pock marks, just any little discrepancies, but you're not supposed to leave much of this on the car. This is a final skim to allow you a very neat surface to make a final sanding on with the finer grades of paper, the 320 and the 500. And again, this is me applying it here. It's trickier to apply because it's much more fluid, it's much more watery, it's kind of softer. So your touch needs to get even more delicate than with the normal filler. And as I was doing it, Gar cast his eye at my work and wasn't quite happy with what I was doing, so he stepped in to show me. And even though he was working quickly because I had already been working dolphin glaze, it does go off faster, by the way. Just look at how smooth and how precise the touch of the applicator is when Gar is using it. I mean, he's able to bring it onto this without making a deep gouge or a mark where he's first had the applicator touch it. And you can see straight away what he's trying to do is not necessarily give me the flattest surface or the flattest finish, but he's trying to give me a uniform depth across the whole repair so that when I come to sand this, it will all come down to the same level well. So truth be told, I don't know who this is. I think it's Sai. I don't recognize the movements and it seems just a bit too confident and nicely done for it to be me. Yes, it is Sai, for sure. And I didn't mention in the last episode, I should probably tell you now. If you're wondering why I didn't mic up the guys and have them explain as they went, well, this is a working body shop and it's just constantly noisy. Even with the decent microphones that I have a listen just to the ambient noise in the workshop. So you get the idea. There was just no way of having a spoken word tutorial while this was going on. So again, all of the same rules applied. You've got to get your filler all the way onto the good part of the panel. So all the way across the repair and into a good section of panel. You want to try and get it as consistent and as smoothly applied as possible. And the thing with dolphin glaze is it goes off quicker. It's more difficult to apply because it's so much thinner than the normal filler. And so without probably some practice with normal filler, I don't think you're going to have much hope with this stuff. But it's achievable, and the further applications across the middle of the scuttle over to the near side at the bottom of the screen and also up on the top off side of the screen were me. And I got the thumbs up. I mean, I didn't get any glowing reports, but the guys felt that the job I did would be more than good enough. And now we wait for the dolphin glaze to go off, but we're out of time anyway. And in the next episode, we're going to start using a guide coat, which I found massively helpful. There's some more little tricks and tips, but essentially we're going to get into making this dolphin glaze our final finish before primer and making the finish across the good panel into the repair as smooth and progressive as possible. All to come on Soup Classic Motoring. It bears saying, you haven't seen a fraction of the time it took to produce that work. And I don't mean the production of the work, I mean actually completing that work on the car. And that's mainly because I'm a novice, but I want to bring it to you as faithfully as I can so that you get a really good impression of it. I think it will stand to you if you try and do anything like this on your own car. Now, the plan is, the Range Rover is next. Tina will feature in the next couple of episodes because, like I say, I want you to see the process in full. But then the Range Rover, and we'll finish that in short shrift. The Esprit, meanwhile, is going to a new premises. It is going to become the focus of Soup. I am chomping at the bit to start a very, very, very methodical restoration of that car. And as a breakout project, I want to try and get the Sprinter recommissioned and under me because I want to use it to go surfing. I want to convert it to a camper, but also a podcast studio so that we can continue to meet interesting people and bring cool interviews into the fold. So that's the plan. I'd love to know what you think of these new kind of more frequent but shorter episodes. They are certainly easier for me to produce. I'm hoping that's going to have some longevity to it. To my new patrons, Chris Clough, Jamie Dumont, Jesper Rizkov, John Kearns, Matt, Simon Thornton Smith and Thomas Nunn. Gents, thanks for coming on board. Soup is very much on the financial back foot right now. If you thought you would like to support the series, the price of a pint a month would make a huge difference if I can get enough of those. That is all it would take. The pints would be good too, but the pledges would be better. There is links to both Patreon and merchandise and our sponsor Valet Pro in the description, and it is with great sadness, admiration, respect and gratitude that we bid farewell to Valet Pro in this episode. They have been incredible. They have kept the series going for over a year and I'm very grateful that they've been on board. So farewell Valet Pro and thank you. That is it. Until the next time, don't forget to work on your car, keep stuck in, and good luck.